So we're here in Scottsdale, Arizona with Don Wettrick, the president of the Startedup Foundation. And what they do is focus on bringing innovation to high school students. And he sat down with individuals like Gary Vaynerchuk, Tim Ferriss, Tom Bilyeu, and many more to talk about this topic and how he's bringing this mission across the nation. So I want to have a chance to give you to talk about that.
Yeah, the Startedup Foundation started up bringing startup culture to education. Basically, a long time ago, actually, it was Dan Pink's TED Talk. He was talking about what motivated people, and it was that mastery, autonomy, and purpose. And essentially, I was like, where is that in our today's education? And the long story is, it wasn't. And so I started basically a class for them to start focusing on innovation, entrepreneurship, finding opportunities, and what we call seekers and peakers, not moaners and groaners. Moaners and groaners right now are dictating a lot of the media outlets, people that are complaining about things, people that are bothered by things. And while I understand identifying a problem is important, I wanted our students to seek out opportunities, and then when they become a culture, they can peek around the corner, they can spot trends, they can see what's coming next. So that's one of the things that we do. We offer a lot of mentorship with Startedup Foundation. We even have a nonprofit fund for young high school entrepreneurs, and we provide money. We also oversee a statewide pitch competition through Indiana that we mentor them as we give them on travel experiences. Last summer, we got to spend a day with Seth Godin and had an event at Wettrick Records. So we do all kinds of unique things to get students out of the classroom and into those spaces that are moving forward and we think innovative.
Absolutely. And the thing that I think about with this is one thing that's not happening in the conversation a lot of times, and we want to bring up at HR Transform in Las Vegas, is we're talking about the future of work. We're all about the future, but we're not involving the students that are that future in the conversation, because we should be architecting a workforce and environment and culture that is for them, because we're going to be moving forward. We have to look back at where we want to become. So I want to talk to you about HR transformation, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think HR transformation is adapting to what's coming, and that is, the gig economy, outsourcing work. Too many Gen Z and millennials want to have some flexibility, and so that they have this results-only work environment where you're like, look, get your stuff done. I think that they're going to acclimate to this. My issue is that the schools haven't done a really good job with doing this. Sit down, shut up, memorize these facts. Today's modern businesses don't need yes men. They need people that can seek and peek. They need to seek opportunities for your company. They need to be able to peek around the corner because they're listening to people that know what they're talking about. They're having conversations not about what's triggering them, but what's inspiring them. And I think that's what inspires me about HR Transform. Here we're about to go to a conference with leaders in HR, and they're going to be looking at some of these things too. And my focus is, how can I help you through my students? How can I better prepare them for the workforce?
Absolutely. So when you start to make that thought and think about the seekers and peakers mindset, that's something you said twice now. Where did that come from? Is there a piece of advice you got, or something you ran into?
Part of it, it's the company you keep starts to rub off on you, and I'd say one of the biggest was Tina Seelig at Stanford. She teaches in the Stanford Technology Ventures program. A little bit of Gary, a little bit of Seth, things like that. But opportunity seekers that's been me all my life, and like several people we talk to, they just are seeking opportunities. They see life differently, and then the peakers is I just noticed this over time. That my class, together, we would start spotting trends and like, if this, then that, we should be on here. Like, we had the nation's first high school esports team because 3 years ago, we're like, this is going to be big, and we were peakers. We saw that this was going to be a thing, and I want that so desperately, even for, the most forward-thinking companies are just that. They get together, and together they collaborate through their information, and then they peek around the corner.
Mm-hmm. A lot of companies right now are trying to create that culture with their adults and everything, and they have these different generational gaps. You see it every day where companies are popping up their own innovation programs and trying to find ways to grab CIOs that have built companies before and trying to build the companies within their company. And that is the future, but we have to bring the youth into the conversation. So as we look at the future and we look at this type of thought process of seekers of opportunity, what is your prediction that in the next 5 or 10 years, it could even be further out, what is your bigger vision for the future of work?
The For the companies that have that culture, they're going to eat everybody for lunch. The companies that want to have collaborative seekers, that you're going to be empowered to be able to have a voice and see what's going on. And then lastly, like, I think a lot of Gen Z and millennials also want that sense of purpose. Together, they can peek around the corner. Together, they can start spotting trends. And if your company has that culture, my gosh, you're going to be nimble. You're going to be innovative. You're going to listen to your people instead of be top-down yes men. So I think that I don't want to be a fear tactic. I think that if you're not that kind of culture, you're going to get left behind.
I agree. And one of those things is we have in our last interview is Kobe Sconner of IdeaWake talking about the exact same thing, where you can't have one-way feedback. There's no way. You have to be able to take the top and the bottom and bring them together to create, and that's how you create real innovation. Yeah. Because those people at the top are eventually going to be gone, and guess who takes their spot? The people beneath them. That's a successor program.
Well, I think that there's also this term we call diversity, but a lot of times what gets lost is diversity of opinion, diversity of thought. And when you have a culture where you're like, no, seriously, your voice is heard and we want to hear your insights, I think your company grows because of that.
So is that the thing that needs to happen? I mean, there's all these ideas about the future of work, but the fundamental thing that we need to do is act. So what is the action that needs to happen for this to not just be a conversation?
Back it up. I mean, like every now and then you're going to have to allow some of your employees to implement a strategy, implement a plan. They fill out a little comment card, and you want to say like, okay, let's do this. And if it doesn't work, not fire them. Matter of fact, socially signal to your company that like we tried something. If it didn't work, how are we going to pivot? How are we going to move forward? Because you're right. If it's all buzzword, your employees are going to know that it's not real. It's all buzzword. It's all fake. Try something new. Lean startup kind of style, make some pivots, and if it fails, be transparent about it. Matter of fact, I think it builds trust. I think the companies that are willing to say, yeah, we tried that and we effed up, I think people gravitate towards those companies. So take some risks, be transparent about it, don't try to front.
Yeah, that's something that I experienced when I was in the corporate setting. Is the thing is the idea of the fear of failure, and that even creates dissension in your teams. Where if someone is afraid to fail, afraid to take out a leap, and because of the fear of their job, or they may not get promoted like the other guy, they're always going to stay within the guidelines, and you're never going to create the innovative culture that you're trying to. So it's really important. When we looked at the next question was, what is the most important element of company culture? And it sounds like it's trust, honestly, at the end of the day, and we've lost that so much in businesses, because I should be able to trust that I can go to my leader and look for the best advice, and not the advice that just fits his ultimate goal or her ultimate goal. So I really, really believe in that. And I would say, going into one more question is, we've talked about a lot of frame of thought things. We've talked about a lot of actions. And what is some advice that now you would give from your experience as a teacher and with the kids? Is there something you've seen that they've been asking for, or something that hasn't been looked at that, the 16 to 17-year-old kid today that'll eventually be the CIO tomorrow?
Patience, and that trust. I mean, I guess barring a little bit from Gary Vaynerchuk, right now the two biggest commodities are attention and trust. Once you have people's attention, now they have to trust that what you're doing is either right, and if it was wrong, being public about it. But the other thing is that, and this is where I seriously sympathize with a lot of HR execs, is that so many of our youth are coming in and they have been indoctrinated at school to sit down, shut up, and wait for the right answer. But this is the mission that Startedup Foundation is on. We want to get kids out of that matrix, right? But I think that it's, if you want your company culture to grow, you're going to have to groom these kids. You're going to have to give them some responsibilities, knowing that you have a short turnaround time because they might go off astray, and you don't immediately fire them. My own daughter, I think she's an all-star. She got fired from a job way too fast because the job responsibility they had her operate, they ran into an emergency, and then they asked somebody else to go do something else. So all of a sudden, oh, you didn't do the job you're supposed to do. They go, you pulled me off of it. Yeah, well, we have a fast turnaround time. Goodbye. I'm like, they did a really poor job in developing her. And this happens to my students all the time. We have a fast-paced work environment. Is turnover good? If you're spending time trying to develop an employee and you just fire them like mad, you're A, throwing away a human soul, and B, you're not developing them. And I hope and pray that a lot of our HR execs look at hiring a person as just that. They're developing a leader and not just a blind follower. Blind followers aren't going to move your company forward at all.
Yeah, man, that is so powerful because it resonates even as you get older. It doesn't matter how old you are. And I see this a lot in the startup world where they think of it as a churn and burn. Let's just throw money everywhere. Maybe 1 out of 10 of them will work, but we're not going to really give them any support or anything, but we're also going to shame them if they fail. So it's one of those things where it's like, are you really investing? Because an investment to me means the goal of putting something in so that you can have a positive outcome. And it's not that, spread the wealth and pray that something works out. It's not just based on hope. You have to give support. You have to give leadership. You have to give guidance. And these are the things that are needed to come to build the company of tomorrow, to build the future of work. And that's what we're talking about at HR Transform. So please come find myself, Nathan Harris of Ease, or Don Wettrick of Startedup Foundation. We're going to be at the conference and looking to have more conversations with individuals that also believe in this, because we want to not only develop the future generation, but we want to invest in the future generation in many ways. And Ease is standing behind that. So please keep following along, and we'll have a lot more information and videos just like this one.